Put everything down right now. Whatever you were doing before this moment, whatever thought was pulling at your mind, whatever distraction was calling your attention away, release it. Not because this is just another video. Not because these are just another set of words floating through your feed. But because something far more deliberate than coincidence brought you here, to this exact moment, and you need to be fully present for what is about to be said. You did not stop here by accident. The timing of this moment is not random. There are millions of things you could be looking at right now, millions of directions your attention could have gone, and yet here you are. So, reading, present. That is not something to brush aside. That is something to pay attention to. Because the same force that has been quietly working behind the scenes of your life, rearranging things you could not see, closing doors before you could walk into the wrong rooms, redirecting paths that would have cost you more than you could afford, that same force guided your eyes here today. And what it needs you to know right now before another moment passes, is this: somebody is about to call you. Somebody is about to reach out to you with news that will change the entire direction of your life. Not someday. Not eventually. So closer than you think. So close that if you could see behind the curtain of what is being prepared, it would take your breath away. Type yes in your heart right now if you are ready to receive it. C.S. Lewis once wrote that we are not living in a world where all roads are radii of a circle and where all, if followed long enough, will therefore draw gradually nearer and finally meet at the center. He understood something that most people spend their entire lives missing, that there are moments, specific and appointed moments, where everything shifts, where the ordinary becomes the entrance to the extraordinary, where a single phone call, a single message, a single conversation becomes the line that divides your before from your after. You are standing at one of those lines right now. I need you to understand the weight of what is being said here. This is not motivational language designed to make you feel good for a few minutes before you scroll on to the next thing. This is not empty encouragement thrown into the air hoping it lands somewhere useful. This is a specific word for a specific person at a specific time. And that person is you. The fact that something inside you paused, the fact that something told you to keep reading, the fact that you are still here, that is confirmation, not coincidence. There is a call coming into your life that you have not yet received. There is a message being prepared for you by someone who has been thinking about you, perhaps more than you know. There is news on its way to you that will answer a question you stopped asking because you were too tired to keep hoping. And the reason you need to hear this right now is because your posture matters. How you enter this next season of your life will determine how fully you are able to receive what is coming. Write amen if you believe something is shifting. You have been in a waiting season. A long one, perhaps. The kind of waiting that does not feel productive. The kind that feels like standing in a room where nothing moves, where every prayer seems to rise and dissolve before it reaches the ceiling, where every effort you make seems to return to you half empty. You have watched others receive news that changed their lives. You have celebrated for them genuinely even when it quietly broke something in you. You have asked why. You have wondered if you were forgotten, overlooked, somehow less deserving of the breakthrough everyone else seemed to be walking into so easily. You were not forgotten. Not for a single moment. Not for a single breath. Every silence you interpreted as abandonment was actually protection. Every closed door you stood in front of, knocking until your knuckles ached, was closed because what was on the other side was not built for who you are becoming. And who you are becoming is someone far greater than who you were when you first started knocking. The waiting was not punishment. The waiting was preparation. And now, the preparation is complete enough that the call can finally come. Stay with this. Do not scroll away. Do not let distraction steal this moment from you, because what comes next in this message is exactly what you have been needing to hear. The news that is coming for you, the call that is being prepared, is bigger than you have allowed yourself to believe. And before you can receive it fully, you need to understand why it is coming now, why it was delayed, and what it is going to change when it finally arrives. Type 777 if you are still here and you believe your moment is coming. You have been carrying something that most people around you could not see. Not because they did not care, but because what you have been carrying exists in a place too deep for ordinary eyes to reach. It lives in the quiet moments, in the space between waking up and fully opening your eyes, in the pause before you answer when someone asks how you are doing, in the exhale that comes out longer and heavier than you intended. You have been holding something. A hope that you keep almost letting go of. A belief that has been tested so many times that you are no longer sure if it is faith or simply stubbornness keeping it alive. But hear this clearly. It is neither stubbornness nor foolishness that has kept you holding on. It is something placed inside you that was designed to survive exactly the kind of pressure you have been under. That quiet persistence, that refusal to completely give up even when every reasonable part of you was arguing that you should, that was not weakness dressed up as strength. That was your spirit doing what it was built to do. Holding the door open for what is coming. And what is coming with a voice. A real voice. A call. A message. A moment of contact that you have been waiting for without fully knowing how to name what you were waiting for. Type holding on if you have been waiting longer than you expected. C.S. Lewis understood the particular kind of pain that comes from hoping for something you cannot yet see. He wrote that hope is one of the theological virtues, which means that a continual looking forward to the eternal world is not a form of escapism or wishful thinking, but one of the things a Christian is meant to do. But what Lewis also understood, what he lived in his own seasons of silence and grief, is that hope is not passive. It is not sitting still and waiting for the universe to deliver something to your doorstep. Hope is the active decision to remain open when everything in you wants to close. To remain soft when hardness would be easier. To remain available when withdrawal would feel safer. You've been doing that. You may not have called it hope. You may have called it surviving. You may have called it getting through the day. But it was hope. And it has not gone unnoticed. Now let me tell you something about the call that is coming. Something specific, something you need to prepare your heart to receive. This call is not going to arrive with a grand announcement. It is not going to come wrapped in obvious signs and flashing signals. It is going to arrive the way most life-changing things arrive, quietly in an ordinary moment, through what might initially appear to be a simple and unremarkable reach out. Someone picking up their phone. Someone typing a message they have been putting off. Someone deciding today is the day they finally make the call they have been thinking about making for weeks, maybe months. Do not underestimate that moment when it comes. Do not let its simplicity fool you into dismissing it, because what travels inside that call is not simple at all. Write 777 if you will not dismiss what is coming. What is traveling inside that call is a shift. A real, tangible, undeniable shift in the direction of your life. For some of you, this call will be about an opportunity, a door opening in your career, your finances, your purpose, that you had quietly stopped believing was still available to you. For others, it will be about a relationship, a reconciliation you had given up on, a connection you thought was permanently severed, a person whose voice you have missed more than you have told anyone. For others still, it will carry news about something you have been praying about so long that the prayer has become more of a whisper than a declaration. Whatever form it takes when it reaches you, receive it. Do not second-guess it. Do not immediately begin looking for the catch, for the hidden cost, for the reason it cannot be as good as it sounds. The voice that trained you to expect disappointment every time something good appeared was not a voice of wisdom. It was a voice of past wounds speaking into your present moment. And that voice does not get to decide what you receive anymore. You have outgrown the limitations that pain tried to place on your capacity for blessing. Type open if you are releasing the voice that told you not to expect good things. There is something else you need to understand about this call that is coming. It is not arriving because everything in your life is perfect. It is not arriving because you have finally done enough, earned enough, proved enough. It is arriving because the season has changed. Not because of your performance but because of your persistence. Because you stayed. Because even on the days when staying felt like the hardest possible choice, you made it anyway. And that kind of endurance creates something in a person. A depth, a readiness, a capacity to hold something greater than what they could have held before they went through what they went through. You are not the same person you were when this waiting season began. You are larger on the inside now. More capable. More grounded. More prepared to receive something significant without losing yourself in it. And that is exactly why the call can finally come. Because now you are ready not just to receive it, but to hold it, to steward it, to let it become what it was always meant to become in your life. The person on the other end of that call, they do not fully know what they are carrying to you. They are simply following an impulse, a nudge, a quiet inner knowing that today is the day they need to reach out. But what they are carrying is more than a message. It is a turning point. It is the moment your story changes direction. Stay present. Stay open. Stay expectant. Type yes and ready if you feel this is for you. There is something that needs to be said right now that most people are never told, not because the truth is hidden but because it is uncomfortable. And it is this, the call that is coming for you, the breakthrough that is already in motion, the news that is being prepared and carried toward you at this very moment. It can be missed. Not because it will not arrive. It will arrive. But because there is a part of you, a deeply conditioned part, that has been trained over years of disappointment to protect itself by rejecting good things before they can be taken away. You have done this before. You have held something promising at arm's length because getting close to it felt too dangerous. You have talked yourself out of hope right at the edge of its arrival. You have heard good news and immediately begun constructing reasons why it would not last, why it was not really for you, why the other shoe was inevitably going to drop. And in doing so, you did not protect yourself. You simply delayed yourself. You pushed away the very thing that was trying to reach you. This time must be different. This time, when the call comes, you must be ready to say yes with your whole self. Not a cautious yes, not a yes that is already preparing for disappointment, but a full, open, unguarded yes that lets what is coming actually land in your life and take root. Type ready if you are choosing to receive fully this time. C.S. Lewis wrote something in one of his letters that speaks directly to this moment. He said that we are not necessarily doubting that God will do the best for us. We are wondering how painful the best will turn out to be. That sentence captures something true about the human condition, that even those with deep faith, even those who genuinely believe in the goodness of what is coming, still carry a braced posture. Still wait for the catch. Still flinch before the gift arrives, as though receiving something good must cost something devastating. You have been living in that braced posture for too long, and it is time to let it go. Not because life guarantees that nothing will ever be difficult again. Not because the road ahead is without any uncertainty, but because the specific thing that is coming toward you right now, this call, this news, this turning point, does not carry a hidden cost. It carries a genuine gift, a real opening, a true shift. And the only thing that can prevent it from fully changing your life is if you receive it with a closed fist instead of an open hand. Right, open hands if you are releasing the braced posture right now. Now let us talk about something that goes even deeper than the call itself. Let us talk about who you are becoming in this season, because the news that is coming is not just changing your circumstances, it is confirming your identity. There is a version of you that has been emerging slowly, quietly, through everything you have endured. A version that is stronger, clearer, less easily shaken, more grounded in what truly matters. You have caught glimpses of this person in your better moments, in the moments when you responded with grace instead of anger, when you chose peace instead of chaos, when you walked away from something that was beneath who you are growing into. That person, that emerging, stronger, more grounded version of you, is the one the call is coming for. Not the version that was broken by the waiting. Not the version that doubted and questioned and wondered if the breakthrough would ever arrive. The version that endured all of that and is still here. Still open. Still watching. And that version of you deserves to receive this without flinching. Type new version if you recognize who you are becoming. There are people in your life right now who are not going to understand what happens when this call arrives. They have grown accustomed to a version of you that was smaller, quieter, more hesitant, more willing to settle. They have built their understanding of who you are around the person you were during the waiting, and when your circumstances begin to shift, when opportunities begin to open, when the news begins to change the landscape of your life, not everyone around you will celebrate it the way you deserve. That is not a reason to shrink. That is a reason to pay attention to who is truly in your corner. C.S. Lewis understood this. He built his entire intellectual and spiritual life around the idea that growth requires leaving behind what no longer fits, not with bitterness but with clarity. He wrote extensively about the danger of remaining in a comfortable smallness when you were designed for something larger. He called it the problem of contented mediocrity, the settling that happens when people fear the discomfort of expansion more than they desire the gift of their true potential. You were not designed for contented mediocrity. And the call that is coming is going to make that undeniably clear, both to you and to everyone watching your life. Some doors around you are going to close after this call arrives. Some connections are going to shift. Some situations that you have been trying to maintain out of obligation or familiarity are going to naturally fall away. And what replaces them will carry a different quality, a lightness, an alignment, a sense of rightness that you have not felt in a very long time. Do not mourn what falls away. It is making room for what belongs. Type making room if you are ready to release what no longer fits. Here is the warning that this section must carry, and it must be heard clearly. The days between now and when the call arrives are critical. What you do with your mind, your faith, your energy in this window of time will determine whether you step into what is coming fully or whether you arrive at it depleted and half-present. Do not spend this time rehearsing worst-case scenarios. Do not spend it convincing yourself that you must have misunderstood, that it cannot really be your turn, that good things are for other people and not for you. Spend it in expectation. Spend it in quiet confidence. Spend it becoming, in your thinking and your posture, the person who is ready to receive life-changing news without collapsing under the weight of it or running from the responsibility of it. The call is coming. You are ready. And who you are on the other side of it will be someone even you will be amazed by. Type 777 to confirm you are still standing in expectation. Before a storm arrives, the atmosphere changes. Before the sun rises, the sky shifts from black to deep blue, then to purple, then to the first pale traces of gold along the horizon. Before rain comes, the air carries a specific heaviness, a particular stillness, a pressure that the body recognizes even before the mind has processed what it means. Nature does not deliver its most significant moments without first sending signals. And neither does the divine. There have been signs around you. Signs that the call is close. Signs that what is coming is already in motion, already traveling toward you, already closer than the silence of your current circumstances would suggest. You may have noticed them and dismissed them as coincidence. You may have felt them and talked yourself out of trusting what you felt. But they were real. They were specific. And they were meant to prepare you for exactly this moment. The moment when you finally allow yourself to believe that what you have been sensing is not imagination. It is anticipation. Type signs if you have been feeling something is close. The first sign is this: you have been thinking about this person, this opportunity, this situation with an unusual frequency lately. Not obsessively, not anxiously, but with a quiet and persistent awareness. Their name surfaces in your thoughts unexpectedly. A memory connected to them rises without you deliberately reaching for it. You find yourself wondering about them, about the situation, about the door, without being able to fully explain why your mind keeps returning there. That is not random mental activity. That is your spirit receiving information that your conscious mind has not yet caught up to. Something is being communicated to you beneath the level of ordinary awareness, and that communication is telling you, pay attention to this. This is where movement is happening. The second sign is a shift in your inner atmosphere. Something has been lifting. A heaviness that you carried for so long that you stopped noticing its weight has been quietly, gradually decreasing. There are moments now, small ones, perhaps fleeting, where you feel something close to lightness. Where hope surfaces not as a desperate reach but as a natural arising. Where peace visits you in moments when, by all external measurements, there is no logical reason for peace. That is not a malfunction of your emotional system. That is preparation. That is your inner world being made ready to hold what the outer world is about to deliver. Right lifting if you have felt that heaviness beginning to shift. The third sign is that old chapters have been closing around you. Situations that you held on to, out of habit, out of fear, out of the familiarity that even painful things can provide, have been ending. Relationships that did not carry your future have been fading. Patterns that kept you circling the same ground have been losing their grip. At the time, some of these closings felt like loss. They felt like things being taken rather than things being released. But look at what those endings created: space, room, an openness in your life that was not there before. That space was not created by accident. It was created deliberately to make room for what is being sent to fill it. The fourth sign is that your dreams and your quiet moments have been different lately. There is a quality to your rest, to your stillness, to the thoughts that arise in the early morning before the noise of the day takes over, that carries a different texture than it did 6 months ago. Something is speaking to you in those quiet places. Something is building in you an awareness that a corner is being turned, that a page is being flipped, that the chapter you are in is drawing toward its close and the next one, the one you have been waiting for, is beginning to open. Type aware if you have noticed these signs in your own life. C.S. Lewis wrote that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. But what Lewis also understood, and what is less frequently quoted, is that there are moments of divine preparation that arrive not as whispers or shouts but as a deep, settled, interior knowing. A certainty that has no obvious external evidence to support it but that feels more real than anything the eyes can see. You have been carrying one of those knowings. Perhaps you have not trusted it fully. Perhaps you have let the voices of reason and caution and past disappointment drown it out. But it has not left you. It is still there, underneath everything, waiting for you to give it permission to be true. Give it that permission now. What you have been sensing is real. What you have been carrying in that quiet interior place is not wishful thinking. It is prophetic awareness. It is your spirit knowing what your circumstances have not yet confirmed. Right, I know if you feel that deep interior certainty. Now let us talk about how to receive what is coming, because receiving is a skill that most people were never taught. The culture we live in teaches acquisition, how to chase, how to pursue, how to demand, how to take. But receiving is different. Receiving requires an entirely different posture. It requires openness without desperation, expectation without entitlement, readiness without rigidity. You must be available to receive the call in whatever form it arrives, through whatever channel it comes, at whatever moment it chooses to appear, not only when it fits the picture you have constructed in your mind of how it should look. This is critical, because one of the primary ways people miss their breakthrough is by being so committed to a specific version of how it should arrive that they fail to recognize it when it comes in a different shape. The call may not come from who you expected. The news may not be packaged the way you imagined. The opportunity may not present itself through the door you have been watching. Stay flexible. Stay open. Stay willing to be surprised by the creativity of how what is meant for you finds its way to you. Type flexible if you are releasing your expectations of how it must look. There is also something you must do internally in these final days of waiting. You must speak to yourself differently. The narrative you have been running inside your own mind, the one that rehearses all the reasons things might not work out, that replays the moments when you were disappointed, that prepares you in advance for the pain of another no, that narrative must be interrupted. Not suppressed. Not denied. But consciously, deliberately interrupted and replaced. When that voice begins, you respond to it with what you know. You know that you have endured what tried to break you. You know that you are still here. You know that the waiting produced something in you that could not have been produced any other way. You know that you are more ready now than you have ever been to receive something significant and to hold it well. Speak those things to yourself. Out loud if you need to. In writing if that helps. In prayer if that is your language. But speak them because the atmosphere you create inside yourself is the atmosphere into which the call will arrive. The call is coming. The signs have already been speaking. The preparation is already complete. And the person who answers that call, the one standing in openness, in expectation, in the full and grounded readiness of someone who has endured the waiting and came through it stronger, that person is you. Type 777 to declare that you are ready to receive. You have made it to this moment. Not by accident. Not by idle curiosity. You stayed through every section of this message because something inside you recognized that this was not ordinary. Something in you knew that these words were not simply passing through your eyes, they were landing somewhere deeper. Somewhere that needed to hear exactly what has been said. And now you are here, at the closing of this message, and what needs to be spoken over you in these final moments is the most important thing of all. The call is coming. Not as a possibility. Not as a maybe. Not as a someday that lives in the distant and undefined future. It is coming as a certainty that has already been set in motion, already been authorized, already been released into the atmosphere of your life. The only question that remains is not whether it will arrive. The only question is whether you will be standing in the right posture to receive it when it does. And after everything this message has walked you through, after the validation, after the warning, after the signs, after the instruction on how to receive, you are standing in that posture right now. So receive this word as a declaration spoken over your life. Receive it as a turning point. Because the moment you finish reading this, something has already shifted. Not in your circumstances yet, those will follow. But in you. In your expectation. In your openness. In your willingness to believe one more time with everything you have, that what you have been waiting for is not lost. It is simply on its way. Type 777 to receive this declaration over your life. C.S. Lewis, in one of his most profound reflections on time and eternity, wrote that there are far better things ahead than any we leave behind. He did not write that as a man who had never experienced loss. He wrote it as a man who had buried the woman he loved. Who had walked through grief so consuming that he documented it in raw, unfiltered detail because he wanted the world to know that faith is not the absence of pain. It is the decision to keep moving through pain toward what lies on the other side of it. He wrote those words from the other side of his own waiting season. From the place where he could look back and see, with clarity, that everything he endured had been building toward something he could not have received without first going through what he went through. You are about to arrive at your own version of that place. The place where you look back and finally understand. Where the delays make sense. Where the closed doors reveal themselves as protection. Where the silence that felt like abandonment reveals itself as the quiet of a preparation so careful and so specific that it could not be rushed without being ruined. You are about to stand on the other side of your waiting and understand, with a clarity that takes your breath away, that every single moment of it was purposeful. Right, purposeful if you are choosing to trust that nothing was wasted. Now let me speak to the ones in this moment who are at their lowest. The ones who came to this message not from a place of casual curiosity but from a place of genuine desperation. The ones who have been holding on by a thread so thin that some days they were not sure it would hold another hour. The ones who have cried prayers they were not even sure anyone was hearing. The ones who have smiled for the people around them while carrying something inside that felt too heavy and too private and too exhausting to keep carrying much longer. This word is specifically for you. Not for the version of you that has it together. Not for the version that is thriving and simply looking for confirmation. For the version that is barely standing. For the version that needed this message more than they wanted to admit when they first stopped scrolling. The call that is coming for you is not a small thing. It is not a minor adjustment or a slight improvement in your circumstances. It is a reversal. It is the kind of news that makes you sit down because you were not fully prepared for how completely it was going to change everything. It is the kind of call that you will remember exactly where you were when you received it. What the room looked like. What the light was doing. How the air felt the moment those words reached your ears, and something inside you, something that had been holding its breath for what felt like forever, finally exhaled. That call is coming for you. Hold on. Stay open. Do not give up in the final stretch of the waiting. Type 1 AM still standing if this is you. There are people in your life right now who need to hear this message. People who are in their own waiting season, carrying their own version of the heaviness you have been carrying. People who have stopped believing that the call will come, that the news will change, that the breakthrough is still available to them. You were brought to this message for your own healing and your own preparation. But you were also brought here because you carry something that someone else needs. When you finish reading, do not simply close this and move on. Send it to the person who came to your mind while you were reading. You know who it is. The name or the face that surfaced at some point during this message, the one you thought of when a particular paragraph landed and you thought they need to hear this. Send it to them. Because the same force that guided you here can guide them here too. And the call that is coming for you is also coming for someone you love, and your act of sharing this might be the very thing that prepares them to receive it. Type sharing if you know exactly who needs this message. C.S. Lewis believed with everything in him that the story is never over when it feels like it is over. That the chapter that looks like an ending is always, in the economy of the divine, a transition into something greater. He wrote entire worlds, literal worlds in the case of Narnia, to illustrate the single truth that what looks like a conclusion is often the most disguised beginning of all. That beyond the wardrobe, beyond the door that looked sealed, beyond the winter that seemed as though it would never end, there was always something more. Something better. Something worth every moment of the journey it took to get there. Your winter is ending. The wardrobe door is opening. The call is coming. And what is on the other side of it is more than you have been allowing yourself to fully imagine, because you are not meant to simply imagine it anymore. You are meant to live it. This is not the end of your story. This is the moment your story finally begins to move in the direction it was always meant to go. Everything before this, every delay, every disappointment, every door that closed, every prayer that seemed to go unanswered, every night that felt too long and too heavy to survive, all of it was the preparation. All of it was the author of your life writing the chapters that would make the breakthrough make sense. That would make the reader, and the reader is you, understand why it had to happen this way. Why it could not have come sooner. Why it is arriving now, in this season, at this moment, after exactly this journey. Somebody is about to call you. Somebody is about to reach out with news that changes everything. And when they do, when that moment arrives and you feel that quiet certainty rising in your chest that this is it, this is the moment you have been waiting for, remember this message. Remember that you were told. Remember that you were prepared. Remember that you did not miss it. You were right here. Open. Ready. Expectant. And everything that was promised over your life came to pass. Type 777 and grateful if you receive this word with your whole heart. Share this with someone who is waiting for their call. Subscribe so you never miss what comes next. And know this, the best is not behind you. The best is what is coming. And it is coming soon.